listening to Your Brain on Air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
אתם מקשיבים למוח שלכם בשידור. התוכנית תתחיל בקרוב. תהנו.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and I would say invest in silver, gold, and high-grade aluminum. It'll save you for when what's coming arrives. Folks, good morning. Happy Tuesday. It's a beautiful one. It's a beautiful Tuesday. We're finally getting our first snow. It's bizarre, isn't it? Our first snow after, I would say, it's like, we should have gotten it in late October, but here we're getting it in late November. I won't say that I'm not a fan of the delay, and as a matter of fact, I'm hoping that it gets even warmer. I don't want any snow around the holidays. As a matter of fact, it kind of ruins the holidays for me, but I don't know, maybe you feel differently. Maybe you're enjoying the level of powder that is blanketing the earth today. I'm personally on it. Well, I think that we should stop dilly-dallying. There's quite a lot to get into today. There's quite a lot of news. And we're actually going to start off with a story that might be a little bit old news, but I haven't offered my take on it. But, it's so... This woman... She is one of my favorite members of Congress we've had in years. She's one that stood out to me ever since I got into politics. She's really just sort of, ever since she came on the scene, she's been one of my favorites. Her advertisements have been some of my favorites. Just her level of performance that she brings to everything is just so... I love her, and I'm going to miss her, and I'm sure a lot of you will miss her too. And I'm sure that you all already know who I'm talking about, but let's just get into it so that we can stop confusing everybody else. Marjorie Taylor Greene has resigned from Congress, a shocking turn in MAGA politics. On November 21st, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, once a fiery emblem of the MAGA movement, stunned the political world by announcing her resignation from Congress, effective on January 5th. Next year, nearly a year before her term would end. A lengthy video statement came out from her Twitter and other social media places, and a 4-letter page posted on X. Greene cited the profound rift with President Donald Trump and the Republican establishment as the catalyst. What began as an ideological alignment on America First priorities devolved into public acrimony over several flashpoints. Her vocal opposition to Trump's foreign policy, including the U.S. involvement in the Middle East conflicts, and perceived deviations from the strict immigration enforcement, her push against H-1B visas replacing American workers, and most explosively, her leading role in forcing the House vote on the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This bipartisan effort compelled the release of the long-withheld documents from the investigations into Jeffrey Epstein's, which Trump initially resisted before signing the bill into law amid mounting pressure. Trump, who had endorsed her during her re-election bid, retaliated by withdrawing support, branding her as Marjorie Traitor Greene and a ranting lunatic on Truth Social, while teasing a primary challenge that could doom her ultra-conservative Northwest Georgia district. Greene framed her exit as a principled stand against a politically motivated industrial complex. Interesting, right? That exploits voters, insisting she remained true to her 2020 campaign promises while decrying threats from the president she once idolized. The timing, resigning just before the new pension rules requiring 5 years of service, also qualifies her for a lifetime congressional pension worth over $265,000, starting at the age of 62. A detail that's fueled accusations of opportunism and amid the drama. So, that's another bit of drama that she probably, I'm guessing most people haven't heard of. Greene's departure after 5 turbulent years marked a conspiracy-laden rhetoric. We're going to miss her for that. January 6th involvement and clashes with party moderates also, underscoring deepening fissures within the Republican Party. Elected in 2020 as Trump's surrogate, who amplified QAnon-adjacent theories and heckled opponents, she embodied MAGA's insurgent, raw appeal. She was out there swinging the first time that she went out there. Yeah, I would say that this is that person that is coming to replace her. They have their seat already guaranteed. It's a safely Republican district that she won by 28 points. For the GOP, this could stabilize House dynamics with Green's antics, like her failed bid to oust Speaker Mike Johnson, often sowing chaos in the past. They're probably going to be happy to see her gone. Yet it risks amplifying perceptions of infighting, especially as Trump wields endorsements like a weapon, punishing dissenters and enforcing orthodoxy. It's kind of like he's going full Pope on this. You know what I mean? It's like you will either be a full devoted person to the church or you will be ousted, which, rule with an iron fist, I guess, if it makes it work. Broader party cohesion might also improve in the short term, but the cost of sidelining voices that were once energizing the base, it's probably going to erode turnout in primaries if grassroots activists are going to feel betrayed. The implications also for the America First and MAGA ecosystem are seismic, exposing fault lines that were once billed as unassailable populist monolith. You know what I mean? Green positioned herself as a purist guardian of the movement's core tenets: fierce isolationism, economic nationalism, and the anti-elite fervor. Yet her feud with Donald Trump reveals how America First has morphed into more of a personal brand, along his whims, not more so a lot of open-minded, whatever. Where it's more so if this benefits the Trump administration, that is what is MAGA, not America First. Doesn't matter if it's overtly Israel first or anything like that. You're not allowed to critique it. Her criticisms of the U.S. aid to Israel, calling Gaza actions a genocide and ceasefire violations war crimes, and demands for the Epstein Transparency Act challenge the administration's hawkish leanings, alienating pro-Israel donors and evangelical voters while resonating with libertarian-leaning MAGA fringe. In the future, this could, fracture the coalition. Trump's orbit may double down on loyalist tests. People are not, they're going to purge traitors, you know what I mean? In order to consolidate power ahead of the midterms, they got to start worrying about that. But it risks alienating anti-interventionalists who loved Green as a martyr. MAGA's vitality also hinges on the viral provocateurs like her. Without them, the movement might calcify into an establishment conservatism. It's going to just feel like a normal, ordinary, it'll become the new establishment, diluting that sort of insurgent edge that they originally had. It's going to open the doors maybe for Democratic gains in 2026. They probably don't want to talk about that. We want to look ahead, though. That is exactly what her energy was in this video. Let's play a clip from it. Why not? Let's hear from her.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, sweetie.
I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives.
Yes, you have.
Which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C. and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political-industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more.
Can I just say, she's coming at you with the knit V-neck. I really like that kind of feel. It looks very islandy. And her accent is the most comforting, down home, down. Her accent sounds like a banjo being played at like a vigorous pace, which I kind of like. I like that Southern people have that bing bong down bing bing. It's their voice. It's fun. It makes them easier to listen to.
The results are always the same.
Results are always the same. You hear what I mean? You hear exactly what I'm talking about?
No matter which way the political pendulum swings,
Pendulum?
Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman.
You know what this is? You know what, guys? I'm going to comment this, and I think that this is a teaser for what's to come. Marjorie Taylor Greene, 2028. I think, and hear me out, her future remains tantalizingly ambiguous, blending a redemption arc with reinvention. Trump, in like a Saturday interview, he softened slightly, saying he'd love to see her return someday, hinting at a possible reconciliation if she recants or fades quietly on all of those issues that they disagree on. Sources close to her also insist that there's no immediate plans to run again, including for Georgia's Senate seat that she eyed earlier this year. Yet, betting markets like Polymarket have, they've catapulted her to third for the 2028 GOP presidential nod, behind only J.D. Vance and Ron DeSantis, two big guys that I have talked about as being possible candidates for the 2028 nominee. for the Republican Party. If she amasses enough of a centrist coalition, if she softens her image, if people just look at her as like a fucking Omarosa tough bitch who worked under the Donald Trump kind of thing, so we know that she's tough, she's willing to go out there and say some shit, she's willing to contradict one of the biggest names in politics we've had in the last, I'd say, 40 years, ever since maybe Reagan. Listen, I'm just saying, it's buoyed by the speculation that her resignation is a savvy pivot to national stardom. I think that this is going to be her moment. Maybe she releases a book. Maybe she goes on The View again. Maybe she goes on, like, maybe she just softens the image and she pulls in those libertarian-leaning left people. And I'm just saying, if you build a coalition that is kind of right down the middle, where it's like, I pull a little bit of this, I pull a little bit of that, and I'm going to run as an independent. That's how Jesse Ventura won. That is exactly how Ross Perot almost won. You know what I mean? That's how these people, they gain massive coalitions, and they steal votes from the party that they don't like. So, I don't know. Could she reinvent herself, and could she have an independent run in the future? I don't know. But let's just see this.
Goes higher. Corporate and global interests remain.
You know what the energy is? It's Sarah Palin post 2028, not 2028. It's Sarah Palin post 2008 trajectory, but more of like this. At least Marjorie has this digital firepower, and Sarah Palin, she was wooden. She was just kind of she just had this like. I don't know how to describe her except for just like angry cereal mom. She just like reminds me of a woman who only feeds her kids cereal in the morning. I don't know. Violin lessons. She's probably big on that. I don't think that the sun, like the little sun exposure that they get up in Alaska is very good for their heads, because she was a chaotic woman, and I loved her. I still miss Sarah Palin to this day. At least people like her were predictable. At least, I'm sure that if you're alive and you remember Sarah Palin, you can at least vouch for that. She was a predictable Republican. She was not one of those people that I thought was going to be very challenging to the status quo. I don't know. Let's just finish this.
Washington sweethearts.
Sweethearts.
American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart.
This is a teaser.
So how would you purify?
That's an ad happening. But this is a teaser for a presidential run, folks. This is her coming out and saying, I am not the establishment. I am not going to fuck you over. I am going to do my best to tell the truth. Whatever. This is her going ahead and she's relaying the ground. It's probably bullshit. Just to get, in order to get, the support of the people that she's going to need now that she's not in power. But who knows? That could be exactly where this is going. We're going to skip ahead a little bit.
They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets.
Hell yeah, I do.
They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid.
Yeah.
These are the people I represent and love, because that is who all of my family and friends are.
And then I'm her friends and family. I love you, Marjorie. You're probably going to be the 2028 nominee. I'm pinning it right now. If he does not anoint J.D. Vance, because J.D. Vance has the public appeal, he was himself as like the goofy memes with the mullets, and he's kind of fat for Halloween. He has that element to where I think he could definitely play into satire. He could get people to like him, but he's also a bit of a knob. I think that he's just weird enough. He's just down the line, kind of a guy willing to say whatever. That I think that he's so nothing. That I think that he is nothing enough to be president. Kind of like a Joe Biden type. You know what I mean? I don't know. Let's let her talk again.
Common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia for 5 years.
Nice.
The district is filled with some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted, God-fearing, patriotic, hardworking people you will ever meet. good, regular, common Americans. I've worked hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help district needs. I impeached Biden's Secretary of Homeland after watching my constituents die as he facilitated dangerous open border invasion into America. And I led the effort to defund.
She's going to talk about the Homeland Security shit. Anyways, Marjorie, I appreciate this. Maybe we'll come back to this and we'll talk about you later more. But in the meantime, I actually have an ad to read. This is a little awkward because she did just speak out against this kind of stuff and whatnot, but it doesn't matter. And plus, this community, they need a little bit of help. So I'm willing to give them a free sponsorship here and there. That's right, folks. This is a free sponsorship. Call into the show if you'd like a free one yourself. Folks, are you tired of overpriced, underperforming American workers? Upgrade to the 2026 Deluxe Migrant Pro, now with the extended warranty. Are you tired of employees who want weekends, overtime pay, or have the audacity to ask for a chair that doesn't collapse? Say hello to Migrant Pro 3000 series, the hardworking, low-maintenance workforce that you've been dreaming of ever since you discovered loopholes. Features that you'll love: works 70-hour weeks and still says thank you, boss. Zero HR complaints. They literally can't afford a lawyer. Built-in gratitude module. Smiles through a heat stroke, frostbite, and wage theft. Anything you throw at it, they'll love it. Self-deporting model also available. Just whisper, ice, 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 baby. Or just put on some vanilla ice, and then watch productivity skyrocket. Optional no English package. Eliminates annoying small talk and the union kind of bullshit that we want to avoid. It pays for its own healthcare by never going to the doctor. And if it has a green foot at one point, you just are going to ask it to start wearing socks to work. Testimonials. We got Chad from a Florida contractor. My old American crew wanted dental. These guys just pull out their own teeth with pliers and keep roofing. 10 out of 10. We got Karen from the Central Valley Farmer. They live 14 to a trailer and still send money home. That's kind of a financial responsibility. I respect it. Awesome. These folks, these are real testimonials from satisfied customers. We have a limited time offer. Book 50 units and you can get a free Don't Call ICE hotline blocker. Act now and we'll throw in a complimentary ankle monitor for each. A $399 value, people. Because nothing says a valued employee like GPS surveillance. We call 1-800-REPLACE-AMERICANS today. Operators are standing by in the country in countries that you cannot pronounce. Deportation is not included. Some dignity may be lost in shipping. Migrant Pro, because American workers forgot their place, but these guys never had one. All right, folks, let's go ahead and let's jump into the next story. We got one that I think we need to cover because there's a lot of uninformed folks about this guy. There's a lot of people that just sort of they look at this person as a joke. They hear the things that they are supposed to hear, where it's like, oh, he's a spooky whatever billionaire tech lord. But I think that we need to really, really talk, and I think people need to do a little bit more research into who this fella is. Folks, we're going to talk about Peter Thiel. Who is Peter Thiel? What is he all about? And is he just a silly, weird, talking villain from South Park? Like, he has that 6'7" voice or whatever. Or is he a deeply concerning kind of Dick Tracy type? Like, Dick Tracy villains and whatnot? Folks, Peter Thiel, he was born in 1967 in Frankfurt, West Germany, to evangelical Christian parents who soon immigrated to the United States. He grew up in California. He showed early intellectual brilliance and studied philosophy at Stanford, where he co-founded the conservative Stanford Review. Before earning a law degree, there was as well. But after a brief stint in corporate law and finance, he co-founded PayPal with Max Levchin and Elon Musk in 1998. The PayPal mafia that emerged from that sale, Musk, Reid Hoffman, David Sachs, etc., would go on to dominate Silicon Valley for the next 2 decades. Thiel's first big investment was a $500,000 investment into Facebook in 2004. How did he know it would go big? That's pretty crazy. He remains on its board to this day. In 2004, he co-founded Palantir Technologies with Alex Karp and others, a company whose core products, Gotham and Foundry, are designed for mass data integration, predictive policing, counterterrorism, and immigration enforcement. Palantir's largest customers are linked to the CIA, in QTEL, what's it called? The U.S. military, ICE, and numerous other foreign intelligence agencies, which is the primary reason Thiel is viewed as with deep suspicion by privacy advocates and the broader left. Ideologically, a lot of people don't know very much about him. He is actually a self-identified contrarian libertarian. I know, it rhymes, it's goofy, contrarian libertarian, Dr. Seuss. He believes, in general, that technological and economic progress has stagnated since the 1970s. In his 2014 book, 0 to 1, he argues that true innovation comes from monopoly rather than competition, and that most of what passes for progress today is merely globalization, an incremental improvement rather than bold new breakthroughs. He vocally critiques things like democracy when it impedes radical technological change. In a widely quoted 2009 Cato Institute essay, he wrote, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible." He has funded seed-steading projects, the Thiel Fellowship, paying teenagers to drop out of college, and life extension research because he sees universities, regulatory states, and cultural stagnation as enemies of the future. If you had to break down his philosophy, that's probably the best way to break it down in general. The most unusual and unsettling strand of Thiel's thoughts, though, is his long-standing intellectual fascination with the French Catholic reactionary thinker René Girard. And though Girard, with eschatology and the figure of the Antichrist in general, the Thiel has repeatedly described Girard's mimetic theory. Humans imitate each other's desires, leading to scapegoating. Is the hidden mechanism of social order, as the most important idea he has ever encountered. In private seminars, he is at least one public talk, a 2022 conversation with J.D. Vance. Thiel has speculated that accelerating technology could produce secular antichrist-type figures who offer total material abundance and control in exchange for spiritual dissolution, a kind of techno-apocalyptic vision. While he presents this as a philosophical speculation, critics see it as evidence that Thiel's views the current world order as already quasi-apocalyptic and therefore in need of violent and vital disruption. Palantir, that's probably the biggest thing that everybody knows him for, is Palantir. Ooh, this big security force, but nobody knows exactly what the hell it is. Palantir is the concrete embodiment of these fears. The company's software has been used to track undocumented immigrants for deportation, to run predictive policing programs later found to be racially biased, and to help the Israeli military target individuals in Gaza. Thiel himself has defended total informational awareness as necessary in an age of terrorism and great power competition, combined with his funding of surveillance startups, Anduril, Clearview AI through investments, his political donations to nationalist candidates. He was Trump's biggest Silicon Valley donor in 2016 and backed J.D. Vance and Blake Masters. And has stated his belief that capitalism and democracy are increasingly at odds. A large segment of the public views him as the closest thing to a real-world Bond villain in tech. Perhaps the darkest note also that we can touch on is Thiel's apparent ambivalence about the long-term survival of the human species itself. He has invested heavily in parabiosis research, young blood transfusions, essentially, if you don't know about what that is. They take the blood of someone who's younger and they transfuse it into you. Cryonics, adjacent companies where you basically involves partially freezing yourself in order to prevent aging, and artificial general intelligence through the Founders Fund. In interviews, he has said that he is maximally optimistic about singleton AI solving all of humanity's problems. But he also told Tyler Cohen that the most likely outcome of the advanced AI is lights out for humanity. When asked directly about whether humanity deserves to continue if it cannot escape stagnation and eventual heat death, he refused to give a clear affirmative answer. He just kind of skated around that question. to many observers, this mixture of apocalyptic Christian influences, extreme technological accelerationism, monopoly capitalism, and near total surveillance power, it makes Peter Thiel not just controversial, but like very existentially menacing to a lot of people. I want to go ahead and I want to show this interview that he did, and I just want to play it, his words. He's not the first one talking, it's the interviewer.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
And then here's he.
You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
Yes?
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit
Should
in
the
this.
human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would. I also would like us to radically solve these problems,
Right.
and so it's always, I don't know, transhumanism is this, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body, and there's a critique of, let's say, the trans people in a sexual context, or I don't know, transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross dresses, and a transsexual is someone where you change your penis into a vagina, and we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. The critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's so pathetically little. And okay, we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body.
So listen, he is, yes, I'm in listen, as a libertarian-leaning person on this kind of thought about transgenderism and whatnot, if you're over the age of 18, I don't give a shit if you want to cut yourself up, if you want to, whatever, if you want to refer to yourself by certain whatevers. It's no skin off my back. I'll call you whatever you want to be called. I think that's great, and I'm happy for you if it makes you happy. You got to think about this, though. The idea that he's proposing to you ultimately boils down to you as a human. This body that you live in is holding your mentality back. And ultimately, the best way for us to fix this is to take you out of you. You will no longer be you. You will not be this finite being with like limitations on your mind's eye and everything. You won't be a nasty human who has to eat and shit. You will be a transcendent, kind of sexless, like symbiotic silicone creature that will like not need to sleep. You will not need to eat. You won't need to do all of these stupid human things that make life worth living. You won't have to, hang out with friends. You won't have to see your loved ones. You won't have to do whatever. You'll get the serotonin plunged right. They'll take these things, these rods, put them into your brain, and that will give you the stimulation that you need to be happy. And then you will just work for like your entire existence whenever your brain eventually gives out, which it may never. If he's really talking about the idea of like living forever, you might just spend the rest of eternity as a perpetual battery that is just working, doing nothing exactly but feeling pleasure and just not knowing what's happening, but also not really caring beyond your little pod. Like, that's ultimately where all of this transhumanism, this stuff, the human experience is what makes life worth living. The idea that you want to take away the need to eat, the need to shit, the need to breathe. What makes a mall more memorable? The idea that you could just float through a mall and like you could look at clothes that you couldn't actually wear because you're a symbiote or whatever, or running terrified through a mall because you don't know if you're going to find a bathroom in time. That's a human experience. That's a human experience that you're going to lose. What about you're hungry as shit and you're in a bad mood and you know that you and your family are going to argue. So you're like driving through a town as fast as you can, trying to find something to eat, and you settle on a McDonald's. And then you all quench your like angry hunger together in a car together. There's something beautiful, there's something human about that, but in this future where he wants this kind of stuff, there would be no that. There would be no that. There would be no nothing. You'd barely need to reproduce unless we would need to replace you as a battery later. So my point is, this guy should concern you. He should make you deeply nervous because he is a person with a lot of power. He's a person who backs a lot of candidates. He's a person who's, could be supporting J.D. Vance, the potential future president. I'm not normally a apocalyptarian or whatever. I'm not like the end is near person. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't like to be that kind of person. I don't like to be an alarmist type. But I'm saying that if you're going to be worried about anybody, maybe he is one to be a little bit concerned about. He's one to keep your eye on at the very least. I don't know. Maybe that's the best way to say it. I'll let him finish up in his own words.
And then Orthodox Christianity, by the way. The critique Orthodox Christianity has of this is these things don't go far enough. Like that transhumanism is just changing your body, but you also need to transform your soul, and you need to transform your whole self. And so,
right. But the other wait. I'm sorry. I generally agree with what I think is your belief that religion should be a friend to science and ideas of scientific progress. I think any idea of divine providence has to encompass the fact that we have progressed and achieved and done things that would have been unimaginable to our ancestors.
Yeah.
But it still also seems like, the promise of Christianity in the end is you get the perfected body and the perfected soul through God's grace, and the person who tries to do it on their own with a bunch of machines is likely to end up as a dystopian character.
Well, it's...
God, can he just calm down? The vein on the side of the head is popping. It's intense.
Let's articulate this.
And you can have a heretical form of Christianity, that says something else.
I don't know. I think the word nature does not occur once in the Old Testament. And so...
oh my God. Okay. Let's ask... Fuck it. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Does the word nature appear once? Is that his words? I want to make sure that I'm not misquoting. I'm making sure that his claim is that the word nature does not appear once in the Old Testament. Let's see if that's what he said.
I think the word nature does not occur once in the Old Testament. And so...
Okay. Occur once in... Does the word nature not occur once in the Old Testament? Because, and also, I would like to point this out. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck if they probably did not have the word nature back then. Okay. Here we go. It never uses the word nature in, yes, the King James Version. Other translations, most translations do not use the word nature in the ESV, the NKJV, NASB, usually none in the NRSV. Okay, yes. Hebrew scriptures also don't have the word exactly that corresponds to the Greek physis, which is nature, found in the New Testament. The Old Testament tends to describe things like creation, biria, kinds, min, or character disposition, like heart, lev, shit like that. It doesn't tend to have a word for anything like nature. There's no direct translation in the Hebrew. But I guess if you want to use that, whatever.
And there is a word a sense in which, the way I understand, the Judeo-Christian inspiration is, it is about transcending nature. It is about
spiritually, it's about transcending nature, because nature is what bounds us. And also, it's not even about transcending nature entirely. The whole point of the Old and the New Testament, if you want to talk about the New Testament, the gospel, is to make heaven as what would be in heaven as is on earth. The whole point of it is that heaven could be on earth. The idea is to bring what is godly to the whatever, the fallen realm. That is the point. Otherwise, why would Christians humans be here. That's the whole point. It's transcending through your belief. I'm sorry, it's not exactly what this fucking loon is trying to tell you. I'm not even that good of a Christian, and I can tell you that. I'm sorry, I'm not even wearing the cross around my neck or nothing like that. I'm just like someone who was baptized a Lutheran. I learned a little bit about it, and I can tell you that that is not at all what Christianity preaches. It's not what it's talking about. That might be your understanding of it, but your understanding is heresy. It's modern heresy.
About overcoming things, and and the closest thing you can say to nature is that people are fallen, and that's the natural thing in a Christian sense, is that you're messed up. And that's true. But, there's some ways that, with God's help, you are supposed to transcend that and overcome that.
Is it fucked up, though, to be human? I don't know. Maybe that's his argument. Folks, let's jump into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. It's, 10 or 11 or so, or whatever, of today's biggest headlines that I can't dedicate a whole segment to, but they're important for you to know about to keep your media diet healthy. A judge has tossed the cases against Comey and Letitia James. A federal judge dismissed the criminal charges made against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, ruling that the prosecutor who brought the indictments was unlawfully appointed. Well, there goes our case against, what's his name? I mean, I didn't ask for it, but maybe we'll get a season 2 of the Comey rule out of this. Jeff Daniels needs some work lately. He needs something to do. The Pentagon opens investigations into Senator Mark Kelly. The United States Department of Defense is investigating Senator Mark Kelly, a retired Navy captain, after he appeared in a video urging military personnel to refuse illegal orders. A highly unusual move given his military background. Oh, what? Mark Kelly, don't do that shit. I'm sorry. That sucks. I mean, fuck. I was kind of hoping that he would be like a good candidate for president in the future. Who knows? Maybe he still will be. Ukraine signals advancement of U.S. backed peace plan. Oh, yes. They're going to meet over Thanksgiving. I hope that they have, potatoes and whatever. I don't know what they have in Ukraine. I really don't. Maybe some sort of like bread. I don't know. Maybe they can afford bread. I don't know. Ukraine has signaled that, and the president, specifically Zelensky, has expressed that he is ready as heck to move forward with a U.S.-backed peace framework, discussing sensitive elements with Trump and European partners, discussing talks in Geneva and Abu Dhabi. Cool, that's awesome. Good for them. I hope things go well. Markets bet on December Fed rate cuts. I mean, they're probably going to do it. That's my estimate. Financial marketers are rallying after dovish signals from the Fed officials, with more than 70% chance now of being priced in for a rate cut in December. Good news for them. EPA approves new frontier chemical pesticides. The Environmental Protection Agency has approved highly persistent PFAS-based pesticides for use on crops and lawns, sparking environmental and public health concern. Don't go outside. It's getting too toxic. I think that if you thought it was safe to let your kids play on the lawn nowadays, guess what? Even that is giving them cancer. I know you were saying, I'm not letting them swim in the creek. I already know that the creek, we can't eat the fish from it like we used to when I was a kid back in the 70s. We can't eat the fish out of the creek. I already know we can't let them swim in there. But now you're telling me that I can't even let them play on the lawn? No. Because there's Roundup, and that'll have a latency of 50 years. They will have cancer, and they will die of a blood disease. It sucks, but that's the world we live in. Sudan militia declares a 3-month ceasefire. Oh, isn't that good? The Rapid Support Forces, RSF, in Sudan announced a unilateral 3-month ceasefire in their ongoing conflict with the country's military rulers. I mean, good to hear, right, guys? I'm hoping that can persist more than 3 months, right? Wouldn't that be nice? The UK imposes new electronic travel authorization, ETA, for visitors. The UK government announced a mandatory ETA scheme for incoming travelers from certain countries, changing its visa exemption policy. I mean, I don't plan to go to the UK anytime soon, so that's no news for me, but maybe news for you. Ethiopian volcano disrupts flights in India. Ash from an Ethiopian volcano, Haile Gooby, love that name, is affecting air operations in the Delhi airport, leading to flight cancellations and delays. You can't fly through a volcano, I guess, so that makes sense. G20 summit ends with focus on global south. The 2025 G20 summit in Johannesburg concluded with a 122-point declaration emphasizing solidarity, development, and reform, especially with perspective on global south nations. Yeah. Let's put it this way. Let's think about it this way. Let's put it this way. This is not going to change anything. We do the Paris Climate Accord agreement. We do whatever. We do all those things. And then California or Canada has another fire. And then all those years of driving the shitty, hybrid cars, they're wiped out in like 5 seconds. Because that's just kind of how this shit works. It's unfortunate. But, that's how it works. And finally, our final headline that we just don't have time for our, a main story. Viola Fletcher, Tulsa massacre survivor, dies at 111. Viola Ford Fletcher, believed to be the oldest surviving person from the 1921 Tulsa race massacre, has passed away at the age of 111. She's old, man. She was old, I should say. And this is the one thing that the Tulsa race massacre, every Gen X person or millennial that I've talked to, for some reason, the first time they heard about this was the Watchmen. And right around the 2020 riots and everything like that was about the time that they all decided to learn about it because it was in their favorite superhero show. And now, for some reason, anytime you argue with them about whether or not institutional racism exists nowadays, whether or not it still exists now, they will bring up something that happened over 100 years ago. They will tell you now that, the Tulsa, they burned down a black town, and I'm like, 100 years ago. In what way does that mean that there is institutional racism now? And then they will look at you and they will go, my generation grew up with MTV. And you'll go I guess you're right. Trump card, everybody who's older wins. Folks, let's jump into our third and final story, a bold reckoning, how RFK and Maha are ushering in a new era of vaccine transparency and skepticism, folks. The scientific consensus, based on decades of rigorous research involving millions of participants across multiple countries, is that vaccines do not cause autism spectrum disorder. Numerous large-scale epidemiological studies have examined potential links, particularly focusing on measles, mumps, and rubella MMR vaccines, thimerosal, a mercury-based preservative phased out of most childhood vaccines since 2001, and the overall childhood vaccine schedule. For instance, a 2019 nationwide cohort study in Denmark involving over 657,000 children found no increased risk of autism associated with the MMR vaccination, even among subgroups like those with siblings who have ASD. Similarly, reviews by organizations like the Institute of Medicine and the World Health Organization, the WHO, have consistently concluded that there is no evidence supporting a causal relationship attributing the rise in autism diagnosis primarily to improved awareness, broader diagnostic material and criteria, and better reporting rather than environmental factors like vaccines. That's their assessment. Biological studies also fail to support mechanisms by which vaccines could trigger autism, such as through immune system overstimulation or toxin exposure. And hypotheses like those involving gastrointestinal issues or mercury poisoning have been debunked as biologically impossible. Despite this evidence here, the idea of vaccine autism links and whatnot, they persist due to misinformation and anecdotal reports. Symptoms appearing around vaccination ages and such, and retracted studies like the 1998 Lancet paper study by Andrew Wakefield, which was based on fraudulent data and led to his medical license being revoked. Recent studies continue to reaffirm no association. For example, in 2021, a review emphasized that while autism's causes are multifactorial, likely involving genetics and prenatal factors. Vaccines are not implicated. Public health bodies like the American Academy of Pediatrics and Johns Hopkins stress that vaccines are safe and effective, with no credible link between it and autism, and delaying or avoiding them risks outbreaks of preventable diseases. However, correlation, such as the timing of vaccinations coinciding with early autism signs, does not imply causation. The controlled studies account for this by comparing vaccinated and unvaccinated groups. They talk mainly in this reclassification about how this could be infant-related vaccines. But let's just play this clip from Fox 5 so that we can get an overlay of what's happening with the CDC.
The agency's website reads vaccines do not cause autism, and on the same page says that claim is, quote, not evidence-based. It's left many doctors outraged. Fox 5's Christopher King spoke with medical experts and with the CDC union. He's live outside the CDC to tell us what they had to say. Christopher?
Courtney, the union representing workers here at the CDC says the new messaging is confusing and misleading. Doctors we spoke with call it irresponsible.
Shock and appalled.
Dr. Robin Dredler was horrified when he read the CDC's new messaging on vaccines and autism.
It's clearly dangerous.
The Trump administration revised language on the CDC website. One portion reads, quote, vaccines do not cause autism, with an asterisk. But just above that is this, quote, the claim vaccines do not cause autism is not an evidence-based claim because studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines cause autism.
And it is irresponsible to make statements based on no science.
Dr. Dredler is an infectious disease specialist at Emory-Decatur Hospital. He's also a board member of the Infectious Disease Society of America.
The data is very clear that vaccines don't cause autism and do save lives and prevent ill health.
The updated page does not cite any new research. Dr. Dredler says the evidence is on the side of well-established medical studies.
Clearly, we have had for 20 years numerous studies that have shown that vaccines do not cause autism.
The CDC makes the change in language as fewer parents in Georgia get their kids vaccinated.
That's very disturbing. Once again, we will have children unnecessarily getting sick and potentially dying.
It's misleading. It's also confusing to the public.
Yolanda Jacobs is president of the union representing more than 2,000 CDC employees.
That is just yet another example of how agency leadership is out of touch and estranged from its own scientists.
A spokesman for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services says, quote, the HHS has launched a comprehensive assessment of the causes of autism, and it's updating the CDC website to reflect, quote, gold standard evidence-based science. The union says no one who studies autism at the CDC was involved with this new language. We're live outside the CDC. Christopher King, Fox 5 News.
There you go, folks. They talk about in the re-updated article that it could be linked to infant vaccines. The overwhelming scientific consensus, however, supported by decades of research involving millions of children worldwide, says that there's no causal link between infant vaccines and the autism spectrum disorder. Numerous of high-quality studies, including large cohort analysis, meta-analysis, and systematic reviews by organizations like the Institute of Medicine, now the Academy of Medicine, National Academy of Medicine, the World Health Organization, and the American Academy of Pediatrics, have consistently found no association. So, pretty interesting. That said, controversial CDC webpage update on November 19th, directed under Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has introduced doubt by stating that the claim vaccines do not cause autism is not an evidence-based claim, because existing studies have not fully ruled out the possibility, particularly for the cumulative effects of the infant vaccine schedule. That is, in particular, what they're highlighting. The page highlights correlations, rising autism prevalence surveillance alongside expanded vaccine schedules since the 1980s, potential roles of aluminum adjuvants, and calls for further HHS research into biological mechanisms like neuroinflammation or risks for subgroups. It notes that while MMR studies show no association, they have methodological limitations and are observational, not proving causation either way. However, this update has been widely condemned by the medical experts and organizations as misleading and contradictory to evidence, potentially fueling vaccine hesitancy amid outbreaks of preventable diseases like measles. Groups such as the Infectious Disease Society of America, the American Medical Association, and the Autism Speaks emphasize that the change ignores robust data from over 40 studies involving more than 5.6 million people, promoting debunked ideas without new evidence. In science, it's impossible to prove a universal negative with 100% certainty. There's always a theoretical possibility until every conceivable variable has been tested exhaustively. But based on the current body of evidence, the possibility of infant vaccines causing autism is exceedingly remote and unsupported, far outweighed by proven benefits of vaccination in preventing serious illness. Public health experts warn that perpetuating doubt without cause endangers the herd immunity and child health. If concerns arise, consulting a pediatrician or reviewing resources from reputable bodies like the WHO is recommended over anecdotal claims. This is a pretty seismic shift. This is, the Maha movement in general, this is not making them look great. You know what I mean? This is kind of egg on the face right now. This is not a good moment. This is really... I personally don't agree with what he's doing right now. I think that this is, listen, we have to talk about the idea that vaccines are not 100% positive. Everybody needs the same one all the time. Everybody is in favor of the, listen, you talk to people on the left and they will go, listen, you get the vaccine and you don't ask any questions about it. That's absolutely, that's not the right way to lean either. You have to ask yourself, am I at risk for this particular thing? Do I feel as though I would need it? Am I overweight? Do I take care of myself? Do I have any other risk factors? Am I a smoker? And then you make the personal determination and you do it for yourself. Listen, I'm not in favor of the idea that everything is for everybody. I'm not in favor of the idea that vaccines are not functional. I think that there is a decent middle ground that can be met. I'm in favor of some of what RFK says on vaccines. I'm absolutely in favor of the idea that a vaccine court should be allowed to pay out people who have been hurt by certain companies' vaccines. We have proof that the COVID vaccine harmed many individuals, especially young men in their 20s who developed myocarditis and other certain diseases. There is evidence that this happened due to the vaccine. There's evidence of blood clots due to the vaccine. There's evidence of... Listen, I'm sorry, but that is just factually true. And also anecdotally speaking, I know that we're leaning into anecdotes. Tell me one person that you've met that has had long haul COVID that didn't get a vaccine. It's only people that get the vaccine that have long haul COVID. That's just factually accurate. Anyways, that is just what we're talking about. I want to say that there's a middle ground to be struck on. Yes, you can talk about whether or not certain vaccines are good for us, but you can also trust the idea that, sure, some kids should have this vaccine if they want to go play if they shouldn't have mumps, they shouldn't get all of those types of things. That's what we're talking about. That's the underline of it. If you're an adult though, grow up. You do not need the flu shot unless you're like immunocompromised or like elderly. I have not gotten the flu shot in 5 years, and I have been perfectly fine. And if anything, you're supposed to get a little sick. Otherwise, I would say that your immune system is going to give out on itself. So, maybe that's whatever. Don't listen to me. I've said that many times. Don't listen to me. I'm not like a trustworthy source. I'm just telling you what I do personally. I'm not somebody to model your life after. This is just a factual statement, folks. This has been a fun day. I've enjoyed our romp through the news together. I hope that you have too. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want more. Thank you so much for listening. I had a great time, and I hope to see you tomorrow when we drop our next episode. But in the meantime, this has been your Brain on Air with Ollie Vogt Larson. Thank you so much for listening, and bye-bye.